welcome to day 3. Let me tell you, we've had an action-packed 2 days so far.
And today's programme is absolutely rammed with brilliant wildlife, just like our blue tits nest.
I'm going to be spending the show hanging out, exploring every nook and cranny to find the very best that Sherborne has to offer.
And I'm on the lookout for Shetland's most charismatic animal.
Oh yes, it's going to be a cracker. Welcome to Springwatch.
Hello and welcome to Springwatch 2018. It's programme 3 of our series, coming to you live from the National Trust Sherborne Park Estate in Gloucestershire. We're here for the next 60 minutes and listen, I've got to tell you, we've got the most fantastic programme for you tonight. Other natural history programmes are available on the BBC. You've got Planet Earth this and Blue Planet the other. You've got Natural World. You've got stuff that these guys have been doing for years. But tonight, honestly, they're just a sham, those things. They're imposters. Tonight, the history of natural history television is going to be changed by what's in my hand. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the slug. No ordinary slug, this. This is a slug which comes with enormous expectations. This slug is going to outperform everything that we have on this series.
Very excited by that, aren't you, Steve?
It looks a little bit like a half-sucked jelly baby.
No, mate.
Don't upset
No,
me.
mate, no, seriously. If we'd have had this on the Wild Show in the 80s, the 90s or the noughties, it would have changed our lives. This is a very special slug.
That slug's a deadly 60, that one, eh, Steve? If you don't mind me saying, though, it's a little bit slow and sluggish for the start of the show. I think we should be a bit more punchy and have a look at our live nest and see what they're up to. Let's have a look at our blue tit nest. As you know, there are 11 chicks in there. They're all doing pretty well. We were worried that there might be a runty one. Is there? Oh my goodness, looks like there could be actually. That one on the right? No, maybe not. But there is a bit of jeopardy with that nest because we have seen a woodpecker outside, but all seem to be doing well at the moment.
Let's move on to our marsh tit nest. This is a new species for Springwatch this year. It's a natural nest. It's down by the boathouse, inside a tree. There are 6 chicks, although at the moment you can only see 2 of them, and they look really well developed. I have a feeling they could well be going in the next couple of days. Let's hope so. Could well see them live on the show, leaving, fledging.
Is that your prediction?
Could be.
What do you reckon, Chris? Or are you still
He's
obsessed
just
with your slug?
immersed in the slug.
About what?
Oh, please pay attention. I reckon they're going to fledge on Sunday, the 3rd.
Do you know what? During the rehearsal, right, Steve said he thought they might fledge at some stage during the series, and Michaela said next Wednesday. I said Sunday. Now they're all changing their minds, aren't they? I mean,
I
frankly,
don't really care.
I
I'm
tell you
going to
what,
be in Greenland, so it doesn't really matter.
I'm going to set my slug on you if you don't. We do have another live nest that we can go to now. Down by the boathouse, it's our wrens. You can see it's quite well camouflaged there with its moss covering in amongst the ivy. It's a wren's nest. There's a minimum of 6 young in there, and you can see all of them at the entrance, eagerly waiting in expectation of a meal. In fact, I think you can see all of them. Well, you can see 4 there, at least 4.
Oh, I can see
4 or
5,
5,
actually,
4 or
5.
5 there. And the adult, probably the male, has been coming in with a great range of food. So, of course, we'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the course of the programme and the rest of the series.
I just love the way they've got the little faces out and open their mouths. It looks like they're singing, doesn't it? Bop, bop, bop. Anyway, let's have a look at another one of our live nests, which is just behind us here in the barn, just under the eaves. And it's the little owl nest. That's the exterior. Let's have a look inside. I don't believe it. That is the first time that we've gone to this nest and we've seen the little owl's face. It's looking straight at us. Normally we get the backside of an owl, so that is a great shot. Let's see what's been going on over the last 24 hours. Both parents have been really good. Usually the female's on the nest. In this case, it's not. That's the male coming in with a cockchafer beetle. Passes it. I mean, look at that relay pass to the female. And then the female will take little bits off it and feed it to those 3 chicks. Now, those 3 chicks are about 4 days old, we think. They won't be fledging until they're about 37, 40 days, so we're not going to see that during the series. I don't know what that was. They're getting a real variety of food. That was a small bird that they were bringing in. Another cockchafer they brought in. Not enough for the female. She wants more, and she's very loud about it. She's calling to the male to bring more food into her and the chicks, and the male is doing it. And last night, 22 feeds. So he came back with 22 different objects to feed those chicks. So they're doing pretty well. And it's great to have them just behind us here, isn't it? It's brilliant.
Absolutely fantastic. It's not the only nest that we've got in the barn, though. Our little owls are just about there, so they're about 15 metres behind me. But if you go 10 metres to the left into the corner, there's another nest that we can go to live now. Here it is, and in fact, that looks like the female's in attendance. It's a blackbird's nest with 4 young. Now, what is she doing? She's probably just fed them. That one in the foreground is looking absolutely bloated. I hope she hasn't fed it one of these marvellous slugs. Both of the adults have been in and out. They've been very, very busy, particularly today, of course. It's been raining, plenty of worms about. In goes the male there. Lots of different food, worms, caterpillars, grubs, crane flies. I've no doubt they've been picking up a few of the mayflies if they've been down on the ground. And here you can see the female provisioning those. They're about 8 days old, so they're about halfway through their time in the nest. They'll be fledging in about a week. There she's eating one of the fecal sacs. Now, that might strike you as disgusting, bit of coprophagia to start the show. Of course, it doesn't do her any harm, and if more than one of the youngsters produces a fecal sac, then she hasn't got much choice but eat it anyway. Better that than give the nest whereabouts away to predators. Look at it, it's just brilliant, honestly. Such a good slug. This.
Focus, Chris.
Focus.
Yeah, focus on the birds.
OK, focus on the birds. Of course, you've got 2 of these birds nesting close together. You've got the little owl and 10 metres away, the blackbird. And what does this lead to? Friction, obviously. Blackbirds are one of those species that don't like the presence of predators at all. They'll always mob cats and magpies and sparrowhawks, tawny owls, foxes, you name it. And of course, as soon as the owl pops out, this is what you get, all of this raucous alarm call.
That constant chink, chink, chink alarm call will be driving me absolutely insane. It's like white noise, isn't it?
Yeah, the owl doesn't seem too perturbed. Well, it doesn't like a smack in the ear, so it does fight back when it comes that far. The other thing we've seen is that the owls like to drop down on the ground beneath the nest for a bit of a dust bath, but they don't get any peace at all. The minute they appear, the blackbirds are on them. Look at that. It's made itself a little hollow, scraped with its feet, and then it can't nestle into it and cover itself with dust. And then the reinforcements come. You've got both the male and the female together here. So the owls fight back in tandem. The other one of the pair comes down and starts chasing the blackbirds. And this is what I really like. Look, it's so determined to have a bath it falls over. And then when it finally chases the blackbird off, it goes straight into a roll, into a bathing roll. Look at this. There we are. So it's trying to chase a blackbird and have a bath at the same time. But this looks like a bit of fun. It isn't fun for the birds, of course, particularly the blackbirds. Their young would be vulnerable to those little owls. Indeed, the adults would. You know, adult little owls have been seen killing things as large as doves and pigeons. So they're, you know, a good little owl, a toughy, roughy, tufty, Ray Winston little owl, could certainly have a blackbird. So we'll have to keep a close eye on this.
Yeah, moving away from the birds for just a second, we do have mammals that are raising their young here at Sherborne right now, including this muntjac with its fawn. These will breed all year round, but it's quite clear that this youngster is seeing its very first spring. And hares. Hares are quite secretive animals. They spend most of the daytime laid up in forms and don't tend to show themselves a tremendous amount. Quite different from rabbits, they don't dig burrows. They do stay out in the open the entire time. This one particular animal, though, seems quite tetchy, quite precise about its own personal presence. Anything that comes nearby is getting driven away. So this partridge is given short shrift, is stampeded at and charged away. It's doing exactly the same with other hares. Most of the time, hares will stomp with their rear feet if they're trying to get rid of a predator or they're warning of a predator, and their front feet if they're trying to signal to other hares. This one, it seems, is defensive because it has youngsters. It has leverets. Look at these. We have really gone full cute right at the top of the show, haven't we? Look at that. They are just impossibly cute. An entire nation goes, ah. And yeah.
Oh, come on though, Steve. Your little nose is like, you were with me, weren't you? Everyone's in their front room going, oh.
Even I can see that
I've seen the one in the middle before.
Have you?
Kenny Leveret.
Kenny Leveret?
Kenny Leveret.
Oh, surely not.
It is like being back on the Wild Show. Seriously.
Let's go from Sherborne to Shetland. That's where Gillian is, and tonight she's on the coast, not looking for birds, but looking for a mammal with plenty of character.
Yes, I am on the north-east coast of mainland Shetland, and I'm here to look for the island's most famous animal. Now, there's signs of them everywhere. We've got some here. Now, this is bare rock, but for some reason we've got these moss growing here, and that's a dead giveaway because right in the middle we've got otter spraint, and that's what we're after. These spraints almost like locally fertilize the rock here, all the nitrogen, so it helps the moss grow. And it's beautiful because it helps us to see these, and there's signs, spraint sites all along this coastline. Now, Shetland has 12% of the UK's population of otters on these islands, and we've got our cameraman in position. We could have live otters. Let's just see what we've got on the live cameras. Okay, we've got nothing on camera 2. We're going to go to our next camera and see what we've got there. And, okay, still nothing. But tonight we've got the perfect conditions. It's a very, very still night. There's just the gentlest onshore breeze that's keeping us upwind from any otters. And, more crucially for the otters, it's low tide. Coastal otters are ruled by the tide, and peak activity is 3 hours either side of the low tide, so that's when the water's at its lowest. They'll be most active during this time, and that's because they're after nocturnal fish, which are tucked away sleeping, and they actively forage for them, looking in little nooks and crannies, and their favourite meal is butterfish. This one has one right there in its mouth. Now, in these cold waters, otters need as much as 20% of their body weight each day. So that is an awful lot of butterfish. Now, we've got some beautiful, beautiful shots here where they have to haul out once they're finished feeding. And then you can see it there. It's having a good rub and eventually settles down for a rest. And a lovely little sleep there. So we thought we'd give you a chance to look at these butterfish. We've got a bucket here. It's low tide, and these fish are easy to find at this time. You can look under the seaweed, and I'm going to try and just haul one out here just so you can have a really good look. They're okay out of the water because they can breathe through their skin, and my hands are wet, so that really helps, but they're very, very slippery. That's where they get their name from. And in the winter, they come into these intertidal waters to breed, and they provide a really important food source for otters. But in the spring, there's a bigger reward. Now, this is the actual remains of something an otter was feeding on along this coast, and you'll see these littered all around here. Now, if you look in the middle here, there's a sort of horny orange pad, and that's the giveaway of what this is when it's alive. And that is it. It's a lumpfish. Now, I would say that's a very handsome fish with those beautiful orange fins. That's a male. And in the spring, these fish, you can see right there, there's the disc, it's a sucker. That's what it uses to attach itself to the substrate. And that is why it's called a lumpsucker. Now, these fish come into these inshore waters in spring to breed, and they are much, much bigger than the butterfish. And so when the otters get hold of these, it makes for a very, very satisfying meal. Sometimes they can be as much as 5 kilos. So it's going to keep this otter going for a really long time. Now, our cameramen have been out here capturing this sort of behavior and also some really rare behavior. And when we come back later in the show, we'll see that love is in the air for Shetland otters. But for now, it's back to Chris and Michaela in Sherborne.
Thanks, Gillian. Extraordinary fish.
It is, isn't it?
Extraordinary.
Not sure it's terribly attractive, but it is extraordinary.
But functional.
Yes, functional.
But functional. And of course, there's a good chance, well, there's a better chance that Gillian might see live otters than us. We've had glimpses here, but much later in the evening, so fingers crossed, live otter would be amazing.
Yesterday we introduced you to a new nest, a nest we've never had on Springwatch before. It's a non-native duck. Here it is live. Oh, it's not there. It's a mandarin duck, just to give you a clue. And that's quite unusual, actually, because we noticed it wasn't there a good hour and a half ago. And that's a bit of a concern, to tell you the truth, because our nest watchers have been watching that nest, and the mandarin duck does go off, but usually an hour at the most.
Yeah,
and I
at
reckon
most
that's
twice
been
a
about
day. She's normally
2
on there
hours,
for at least 22
isn't it?
hours a day, unless she nipped back. Perhaps they can tell us whether she's nipped back or not. But let's see what she has been up to when she's been in that nesting hole, which is about 6 metres up in an oak tree. She's spending a lot of time tending her eggs, nestled down in that down which she's plucked from her breast, and a lot of time turning them. Now, when it comes to looking after the eggs, temperature is obviously important, humidity is important, but turning the eggs is equally important. Now, you may have heard, maybe from your grandmother, that, you know, the reason they turn eggs is so that the yolk doesn't stick to the side. Nonsense. That's grandmother stuff. My grandmother didn't even know how to suck eggs, let alone what was going on inside them. It's all to do with the extra embryonic membranes. And if the egg doesn't turn, they don't form easily. And there's one of them called the area vasculosa. And this is basically a network of blood vessels which need to form to make sure that the developing embryo receives nutrients from the yolk. And if it isn't turned, it doesn't develop properly, and this means that the young bird inside the egg doesn't grow to the appropriate size, or even not enough to hatch out. So turning them is implicitly important, and it's not much to do with the yolk sticking to the side. Grandmothers.
I wonder how often they have to be turned. I hope they're all right.
Well,
for a
in the
couple of
early
hours.
stages of incubation, particularly between days 2 and 4, it's essential that they're turned. And even the angle at which they're turned is rather precise. And there's another phenomenon which we might talk about later in the series, lateralization, which is essential at the later stages of incubation, because that determines how the young bird's brain develops inside the egg.
Fascinating stuff. Eh?
It is. I could go on about it for another 10 minutes, but I'd better not.
Well, keep an eye on that live nest, though. We'll let you know if the mandarin duck comes back. But you saw that nest was in the hollow of an old tree, and we know that mature trees are so important for nesting birds. But of course, they're important for a huge variety of animals. So we've sent Steve into the woods with a bit of old rope to explore trees.
Yeah, it's true, Michaela. Trees are incredibly important for a huge array of animals, including us as human beings. You know, for thousands of years, we've relied on big trees for fuel, for the air we breathe, for shelter, for food, and that's even more true of animals. So here on the Sherborne Estate, there are hundreds of ancient trees, and I went down just yesterday to the stand of ash woodland below us here, using this camera here to get a look at the prime real estate and the animals that are living there. Oh, that looks like something out of an Enid Blyton novel. And the ground here is very, very well worn. It's lovely and flattened inside there, and there's one quite clear mark there. Oh, I've got a hare. Black at one tip and white through the rest of it. And with these scratch marks here and the fact that this has all been smoothed over and scratched in lots of places, I reckon this is being used as a little resting place for a badger. Oh, I can hear cheeping. We have a nest. Okay, I'm not going to stay long because the last thing I want to do is freak out any of the parents. Yes, little chicks. Look at that. They look like blue tits. Places where the bark's separated like this creates a fabulous habitat for mini beasts. So we've got a bright red cardinal beetle there. Actually, I'm going to take that one back for our macro lab because that is a beaut. And my shot is, frankly, not award-winning. I'm a presenter and not a cameraman for a reason. Wobbly hands, too much coffee. So it's clear that trees are critical as a home for a whole array of different animals, but not all trees are created equal. A study by Imperial College showed that ash trees, like the ones that I was looking in down there, are associated with 41 different insect species. Holly, on the other hand, has just 7. But the king of all of them, with 284 insect species inextricably intertwined with them, is the master of all trees, the ancient oak, like this one here. This is probably about 40 metres tall. They get to be 1,000 years in age, at the very oldest of these trees, and there can be hundreds of different species living in or around these trees. Some of them you very rarely see, but instead you just get to see the signs that are created by them. Signs like this. This is what's known as an oak apple, but it's not a fruit at all. It's actually a gall, which is created when a wasp lays its egg into the tree, and that develops into a larvae, the larva rather, and the gall is created around it. The larva develops within it, and yeah, you find these all over the tree. They're actually, until quite recently, they were a really important source of ink. And lots of other invertebrate species associated with trees, even when they start to fall apart. So a big tree like this is one of the most dominant features in the landscape, and so inevitably it gets struck by lightning. So you get massive boughs like this collapsing, falling off, tumbling down to the ground. Then they start to rot, and the inside is invaluable for things like beetle larvae, for stag beetles, for slow worms, for reptiles, for amphibians that may hibernate in there over the winter. We managed to get a hold of some of the mini beasts living around this tree and get some good shots of them. The first of which is the cardinal beetle that I found on the endoscope before. I think you can agree that that is, without question, a better shot than the one that I managed to get myself. There are countless arrays of caterpillars, which will eventually develop into butterflies. The purple hairstreak, for example, is a butterfly that lives at the top of oak trees like this one, and is an absolutely beautiful butterfly that you very rarely get to see, and lots of other mini beasts that scramble and bimble and move around the oak and rely on it as a place to live. Could someone pass me my helmet? I've completely forgotten it. Thank you very much. Crucial bit of safety equipment there. Never forget this. There are a whole array of different animals that rely on every single part of the oak tree, from the roots below me, which are covered in fungus, up through the understory, to the canopy above, which is the home for bees and butterflies and birds. And the only way to find out about it is to go up and join them. But the animals that live in the canopies of trees like this don't always get on that well. In fact, there's been a conflict brewing in our treetops for the last 100 years.
Ever since they showed up in 1876, a brash American mob of grey squirrels has rampaged through the UK, squeezing out our native reds. They're bigger, they're better at foraging, and worse, they carry squirrel pox, a lethal disease which they're immune to, but our reds are not. It's not a fair fight, but sometimes the greys hit a barrier that's hard to break through, and here, in Derry, Londonderry, the River Foyle has stopped them from tearing up the town. On the east side, the greys have arrived, and all the reds have gone. But on the west side, the good news is that the reds are still there. It's a bit like the Sharks and the Jets, isn't it? It's a west side story, only it's not America, it's Northern Ireland. And I'm not going to meet Maria, I'm going to meet Caroline. Yes, Caroline Finlay is leading the Ulster Wildlife Trust's project to save red squirrels in Derry, and she's discovered them hanging out in some unusual corners of the city, like this cemetery. See one of your boxes up here, your feeders.
Yes, they have been coming every day.
What have you got on there? I can see some strawberries on there.
Yeah, they absolutely go crazy for strawberries, especially this time of year when there's not so many berries and fruit on the trees. Do you see him? On the feeder tree, just above the feeder.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so that's Blondie.
Look at that.
He's got a wee blonde tip and he comes every day to the feeders.
Oh, it's always a treat to see them, isn't it? Show us those little tufts, look.
Yeah, that's one of the key identifiers of that as a red. Oh, and way back up again. This side of the foil, we seem to have a good population of red squirrels still holding on. But in the last couple of weeks, we have spotted some greys coming in. Yeah.
Well, how do they get here? Over the bridge or something?
They definitely could come over the bridges, but also they could swim it. They're actually surprisingly good swimmers.
It's quite a broad stretch of
Yeah,
river there.
whenever the tide's out, they'll go for it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So they've been spotted between Bangor and Anglesey. They've been spotted swimming that
It's the last thing we need, isn't it?
Exactly.
Semi-aquatic grey squirrels.
I know.
Frankly, it's a worrying sign that could spell trouble for Derry's West Side Reds. But to help monitor how they're coping, Caroline has started her own gang, made up of local volunteers who dedicate every weekend to defending their squirrels.
Okay. You ready to go? I'm ready to go. Done.
Got one left for me then.
Unfortunately not, Chris.
What's the plan?
So what we're going to do is there has been reports of reds out this cycle path, and there's lovely bits of woodland out there. So we're going to send the volunteers out. They're going to put up a feeder and a camera trap, and fingers crossed we get some videos of red squirrels.
Okay. Should we get them on the way then?
Yes, definitely.
Good luck, guys.
Bye, Chris.
The gang gets to work, setting up feeders and camera traps over a 2-mile stretch to see how many reds are in the area and whether any of those punks from the other side of the tracks are sneaking in. The stage is set. Now, to play it cool and wait.
So we've got 3 cards back, and I'm hoping that we got something, but they've only been out for half a day.
Well, that sounds like an excuse already.
I'm not promising you anything, okay?
Fingers crossed.
Let's see, I'll go for this one.
Yeah. Oh!
There we go.
Ah! The backside
There
of
you
a
go.
squirrel.
Proof that we have squirrels out the greenway.
Look at that.
Yeah. Ear tufts
Yeah,
and
ear
everything.
tufts as well. What about that?
Beautiful. That's a really good, healthy looking squirrel as well. Now, from this footage, we're only seeing red squirrels so far, which is very promising.
What happens when you find a grey?
We will remove it from the woodland.
So you'll trap them, yeah?
Yes, we'll trap them. It's really important that as soon as you see a grey come in, you remove it.
Our red squirrels are under threat, but in Derry they have a passionate band of volunteers on their side to make sure the rival greys don't muscle in.
They are incredibly important for the conservation work here. They're absolutely amazing.
Always nice to see a red squirrel.
And that little red squirrel at the end looks so pretty. If it was Maria, it could sing, I feel pretty, oh so pretty. If it was Anita, it could point its finger at the grey squirrel and go, a boy like that, he killed your brother. Stick to your own kind, one of your own kind. I take it you're not familiar with the body of music from West Side Story? Clearly not, hey? It may be day 3, but we have a new nest to show you, and it's a nest of such a pretty little bird. Let's have a look at it live. It's the nest of a goldcrest. It's UK's smallest breeder. Now, this little bird is 9 centimetres long, 14 centimetre wingspan, and it weighs just 6 grams. Let me put that into perspective for you. That's about the weight of a 10p piece. So this is a tiny little bird. You always see it in close-up on the screen, but it's absolutely weeny. Let's see what's been happening with the goldcrest since we put those cameras up. Now, the nest is in some pine trees. I always think these nests look so precarious, sort of balanced like a little hammock, aren't they? Now, we don't know. Look, there are all the chicks begging for food. There are 6 chicks in there, and we don't know whether that is the male or the female. Very difficult to tell the difference unless you see their crest up. The male has a slightly more orange crest. There's only one of the adults at the nest at the moment. That's a very interesting thing, and we'll tell you about that another day.
I'll tell you what, let's go live to our badger cam. Let's have a look what we got there. Well, we've got
Oh, we've got a roe deer.
Roe deer. It's currently headless. Oh, no, there it is. There it is. It's a buck look as well. Oh, they're lovely in summer, aren't they? Look at that.
That's fantastic, actually, because we very rarely see roe deer on Springwatch.
It's nice to see. It's a lovely animal, isn't it? Lovely animal. Superb. Superb. Really, really nice. Now, if you were watching on Monday even, not one day. I'd be surprised if you watch any day after this, to be quite honest with you. But if you were watching on Monday, you know that we were championing the Back from the Brink project. It was about the reintroduction of checkered skippers. This fantastic scheme is designed to reintroduce and re-establish 20 different species across the UK. It began last year with the black-tailed godwit. Now, black-tailed godwits are a species which are quite rare when it comes to nesting birds in the UK, only about 60 pairs. This is what was going on last year in East Anglia. The RSPB and the Wildfowl and Wetland Trust were collecting eggs from the wild nest. That meant that the wild birds relayed those another clutch, so this was a means of doubling the number of birds. They took them into captivity, they reared them, they put them in these outdoor pens so they could learn to feed for themselves, as this bird is doing here, and then in June of last year they released them and they joined their wild counterparts out on the Nene and Ouse washes. Each one of them was colour-ringed so they could be known as individuals. And this one here, if you see the colour rings on its legs, well, they called this one Manny. Bear in mind that one's called Manny. Now, this is the race Limosa, and the Limosa race of these godwits is a long-distance migrant. So these birds then joined up with the wild ones and they went all the way down to Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, on the west coast of Africa. We thought beforehand that typically they'd stay there for at least 2 years. They only breed in their second year. We got a surprise though in February this year, because look at this. This is a photograph from France, and there in the photograph is one of the young godwits that was hand-reared last year that seemed to be making its way back to the UK. And then in April, not just one, but 8 of those young birds turned up back in East Anglia. What about that?
And amongst those 8, just have a look at this. The eagle-eyed amongst you might even be able to tell that that is Manny. Quite difficult to see. Oh, there we go. We can see the 2 rings on its legs. And you can see that Manny is very red, which means that he is in breeding condition, which is absolutely brilliant. So that was very successful last year. As Chris said, they've come back this year with Manny as well. But what happened this year? Well, everything was set. There were predator-proof fences around. They were all ready to nest, and then the weather changed. There was loads of rain, the whole place flooded, and 11 pairs decided to nest next door on arable farmland. Not a problem, except that it was really muddy, which could be a problem for eggs. So they went out and they collected 32 eggs, and despite all the odds, some of them hatched. So 21 out of 32 hatched. Hopefully some more will as well. So this year in all they've collected 55 eggs and 37 have hatched. So it's brilliant. The project is going better than expected.
Absolutely superb. This means that there'll be another whole batch of young animals going out into the environment this year, boosting that population of 60 breeding pairs in the UK. Because of the colour ringing scheme, we're learning a lot more about their international movements. We don't have to just look after them here, of course. We have to look after them where they move throughout the continent of Europe and all the way over to Africa. If you see one of these colour-ringed godwits, then do report it to Project Godwit. And we'd like to sign off by saying top work to all the scientists, all the volunteers, and everyone involved in this, and also, of course, to the Heritage Lottery Fund who are supporting it. Absolutely brilliant.
Can I say top work as well to everybody watching? Because yesterday we asked you to let us know when 3 birds arrived in your area, and it was the house martin, the swift, and the cuckoo. Guess how many people got in contact?
4?
1,100 of you have let us know when you've seen those birds, whether they're early, late, or you haven't seen them at all. And we're going to collate all that information. We might even do a little graph.
Last autumn, I was doing a bio blitz at Lincoln University, as you do. A bloke sidled up to me and he said, "Do you want me to blow your mind with a mollusk?" And I said, "Go right ahead, mate. Go right ahead." Christopher was his name. And we said, "Frankly, Chris, you've got to show us your mollusk." And he does. Just watch this.
I first saw them in 1979. I checked the boxes each week, and every week they were there. And I made it my business to find out what they were. No birds nesting, an empty box. but I see there's a rather fine tree slug. Look at that. You can tell it's a tree slug because very few species of slug will climb this high. You can see the centre line of the back has this pale stripe down it, and the mantle has 2 black stripes down it. One of them's a bit hard to see, hidden there. I wouldn't call Treswell Wood a hot spot for tree slugs, more like a cool spot, but a very good one indeed. Even though it's in the East Midlands, which is generally too dry. The further west you go, the more you have, because conditions are generally wet. Tree slugs are controlled by humidity. It happens that things are more humid at night, so they're more active at night. But if the conditions are good for slugs, a nice bit of drizzle, then they'll be active by day. Excellent times for slug watchers. A tree slug is often found well off the ground. They graze on lichen and algae, and they seem to have to go right up to the tree tops, or as high as they can go to graze. You know, this is the first time that I've been up right into their world like this. So it's taken us about a minute to reach what the tree slug would have to take an hour to do. At this time of the morning, they'll have gone down long before daylight. But what seems to be inexplicable is that they come all the way from ground level right up into the treetops to graze, and there seems to be no reason. Further down at the base of the tree, you'll see the algae, the lichen and the moss. They could just as well, it seems to me, feed down there. There's no bird predators of the tree slugs, and the only things that'll eat them will be things like badgers or hedgehogs. So why they need to go so much higher is a mystery. When you see tree slugs setting off on their journey, they look a light fawn colour, almost translucent with the amount of water they have. If you see them after they've been grazing, they've lost all the water and the translucence, and their gut is now filled with whatever they've been eating. And that shows through the skin of the slug, and so the slug colour now looks very dark. So you might even think it's a different species of slug. It's amazing. You can tell where they've been by looking for zigzag lines in the algae where they've grazed it away. Yeah, I've just seen some. They've been staring at us all the time we've been here, just there. You can see the algae is being completely scraped off just there and around there. So this seems like a very good patch. It's an inexplicable lifestyle. Yeah, it leaves me speechless. I think with tree slugs, as with very many creatures, there's probably more we don't know about them than what we do know about them. And every time we get a bit more understanding, it opens up a lot more questions. If you don't look at slugs, you're missing a whole new world. Very few people have heard of a tree slug. So when visitors come to the wood, I always try and make sure to find a tree slug to show them, because until they've seen a tree slug, they haven't lived.
What a slug. What a slug. What a slug. What can I say? I can tell you what I say. Springwatch 1, Attenborough 0. What a slug.
90-minute special on a tree slug.
Oh.
It's coming next.
Just can't wait, I just can't wait. Now, some of you at home are probably wondering how far a slug travels in the course of its life, given that it goes 10 metres up a tree and then 10 metres down again in a day. Well, Michaela, this is how far the slug could go. A slug could travel to the moon, bearing in mind that that's a distance of 384,400 kilometres, which means that it would take a tree slug 52,657 years and 183 days to travel from the Earth to the moon.
Did you honestly work that out?
Yes.
Do you know, I knew you'd love the tree slug. I knew you'd love that film, so much so that I think you should start up the Tree Slug Appreciation Society. And I've even made you a badge. Look, here's your badge. Tree Slug Appreciation Society. You're the founding member. I'm going to join in just to keep you company. So there are at least two members.
I like the fact that you've seamlessly gone into continuing this item, completely ignoring the fact that I've shown you a graphic.
No, I said it was bonkers. I did say it was completely bonkers. I mean, that is absolutely mad. One giant leaf. Yes, it's nuts. But you did like that. So we've got two members. Maybe we can persuade Steve to join in, and then we'll have three members of the Slug Appreciation Society. Steve.
Well, I think I'm already a fully paid up member of the society, and I wear my badge with pride, Michaela. I'm coming up now through the understory of this ancient oak, trying very hard not to touch any of the rotten boughs, because you certainly wouldn't want any of these to come down. But it's already exquisitely beautiful. As any child who's ever climbed a tree or had a tree house will tell you, the second your feet leave the ground, your perspective changes. There's this sense almost of liberation, of excitement, and I guess a slight bit of tingling of vertigo and fear. But as you get higher, the vista changes. I know this sounds obvious, but the higher you get, the further you can see. And there are obvious advantages to that. Many animals will use that to their advantage. So there are songbirds that will get nice and high to be able to use them to spread their advertising songs as far as possible. Raptors will perch in the highest branches of trees and use them as a vantage point, look down on potential prey. I mean, why waste energy hovering when instead you could just perch in a tree? And of course then, there are plenty of other animals that will live, roost and feed up in the forest canopy. Right, I'm pretty much here now, so I'm going to take a seat on this nice wide branch and see where I am. It's absolutely stunning. We're a bit spoilt for choice really when it comes to talking about wildlife up in the forest canopy, but we have filmed some really rather wonderful insects in an oak quite close to here. These are our own wild bees, and you can see them coming in, bringing in pollen on the hind legs there. And if you look towards the top of the nest here, you can see the wings vibrating. This is believed to be a way of kind of channeling the humidity inside the nest. It could well be crucial to the production of honey. So much going on up here. And a tree like this, you know, I'm probably 30 meters off the ground here. This tree is about 300 years old. There's a saying in natural history in this country that an oak tree takes about 300 years to grow, 300 years to live, and 300 years to die. Well, on that scale, this one's a practical newborn, you know. It's seen the Industrial Revolution, the French Revolution, the American Revolution. It's still going strong. Hopefully, it'll still be here long, long after I'm gone. And I don't want to get all hippie-ish about it, but there is a genuine energy to being up in a tree like this. Maybe it is that sense of deep history, the sense of deep time, what this tree has passed through, the things that it's seen. And being inside this kind of green, verdant cavern is just fantastic. I absolutely love it. And it's an experience that I'm going to stretch as far as I possibly can, because I'm making my bed here. I'm going to sleep here for the night and give you an idea tomorrow of what goes on through the night in the top of an oak tree. And you guys, you can go back to your hotel. You can have a nice meal tonight. To be honest, I'm going to feel like a king, and there's no place that I'd rather be.
Like King Charles, up the oak tree. Well, Steve's having a hippie moment. I'm going to have one too. You know, I think it's remarkable that one acorn can give rise to such a remarkable organism.
That is incredible.
Beautiful, great tree that can live for 1,000 years. I love life, you know. I love life. What about our forests, though? Well, we like to think in the UK that we've got some of the best forests in the world. We love our oaks, heart of England, all of that sort of thing. They're not that good. Only 13% of our land cover in the UK is forest, and that compares very unfavourably with the 34% that covers the rest of the countries in Western Europe. So we don't have that many forests. And then only a third of that 13% is actually native trees. 2/3 of it are non-native softwoods that we planted. And of that third, which are native trees, a half of them have non-native trees planted in amongst them. So I have to say that when it comes to our forest, we've got a lot of work to do to restore them to their proper health.
Particularly if you think 6,000 years ago, UK was covered 75% in
Yeah,
forest, and
wouldn't it
now
be
we're down to
amazing? That'd have been
30%.
amazing.
Absolutely shocking figures. What are we going to do about it? Well, we've got to plant trees, haven't we? We've got to replant and we've got to regenerate. And that's exactly what the Woodland Trust have been doing for quite a few years now. They've been planting trees so you get these beautiful forests eventually that are just rich in wildlife. We need to lay the foundations for future forests.
And one of those Woodland Trust forests is in Hertfordshire, and it's called the Hartwood Forest. Now, it was up until recently agricultural land, but I'm very pleased to say that an enormous number, no less than 45,000 volunteers, including 17,000 children, have been planting a mixture of trees there. Oak, ash, silver birch, hornbeam, hazel, all sorts of things. It covers an area of 347 hectares, and they planted more than 600,000 trees. They will have to look after them. It's not a case of just stick a tree in the ground and hope for the best. They'll need to be thinned, of course, protected from deer and squirrels, that sort of thing, but hopefully it will prosper.
So has it made any difference, planting the trees and looking after the forest? Well, yes, it has. Just take a look at this. They've noticed so much wildlife coming back. Brown Argus butterflies, common blue, red admirals. In fact, butterflies have increased by 160%, which is absolutely incredible. Linnets, in 6 years, sightings have increased by 250%. There's a national decrease of 57%, which is amazing. Skylark numbers, they've risen by 75%. So in 10 years, lots of wildlife has rewilded that area, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and of course the skylarks won't be there for long, nor those meadow butterflies. As the forest begins to change, we have a succession of species, and ultimately we'll have one of the most biodiverse, richest areas in the country, which will be amazing. Let's go live to our cameras though, because we've got a couple of mammals out.
Oh,
at the moment.
look!
Look at this, Michaela. Our badgers on the set there.
And this is the same camera, I think, that we just saw the deer on.
Yeah.
So this is a very active live camera for us this
Female
evening.
there, and a cub. Look, that was a female that was leaving. You can see her long, thin tail. She's now behind the tree. And just to the left is one of this year's cubs, probably born in February. And another, looks like another cub behind it as well, look.
Now, is this the Mark Armand set? This is the Mark, so we
Yeah.
might even see Mark, or he might still be on tour.
I think we've got, on the other camera, we've still got the deer. Is it still there? Yes,
there
it
it
is.
is.
Look. Look at that, the roe deer. Watching the badgers.
It's the animals of Farthing Wood. Oh, that's really lovely. Really lovely,
Superb,
isn't it? You know, going back to trees, Shetland, where Gillian is quite well known as a sort of treeless area, and it has been devoid of trees in recent history, although apparently they're also planting quite a lot of trees, so hopefully a lot of animals will come back and rewild those trees. Gillian doesn't need to be by any trees, though. She's by the coast in search of otters.
So we are on the northeast coast of mainland Shetland, and we have been watching way off in the distance an otter feeding. It's a very long way, about half a kilometre off, but we're going to go to our live cameras and see if we are on it. There's nothing there at the moment. It must have just dived. Let's just hold and see if we have it come up. There's some guillemots in the background, but for now, I'm not sure we're going to see this here. It's been amazing. My heart's been thumping. We've been watching this for the last 10 minutes, and hopefully we will see one soon. Now, elsewhere in, oh, hang on. I think it might be back up. Let's have a look. There it is. Now that is live. It's on the surface in open water, just diving. This has been really active. We've been watching it dive and come up with fish, and it's just been really, really active. We're hoping it's going to work its way towards us. We've worked really hard. We've been staying very low, trying not to break a profile with the headland over here. We've got the perfect conditions. It's an onshore wind, so we're upwind from it, and there's not much chop on the water. Now, when otters are swimming along, they hardly break the surface. We really couldn't ask for better conditions for otters. So we'll keep an eye on those live cameras and be sure to come back with it if we have more live otters. But elsewhere in mainland Britain, otters can breed all year round. In Shetland, they do things a bit differently, and it seems like they have very defined breeding seasons, as we saw a few days earlier. Now, on the left is a dog otter, and we speed this up a bit because he takes such a long time, but very persistent. He creeps up towards that female on the right. And it's a dangerous business because she's not having any of it. She is definitely not ready to breed. Now, a little bit later, another dog otter turned up. This is another male up on the island and he worked his way up and saw the pair there. And when two dog otters get together, this is what happens. They are defending their territories, defending their right to mate with that female. However, the female has other ideas. She snuck off while they were fighting and ended in this standoff, the stalemate. And the dog otter we saw first is on the right there. And once he realized the female was off, he decided to pick up that scent and try and find that female. The strategy that the dog otter will employ is to try and keep on the trail of that female, stay as close as he can, because she only comes into season for a very short amount of time. So he hopes, the strategy is, to be in the right place at the right time. And that is exactly where our cameraman happened to be. Take a look at this. Now this is the pair, a male and female pair. This was a little bit of flirting initially. She was obviously much, much friendlier, ready to accept this male this time round. And then we saw this. They were definitely coupled. There you can see he's got her by the scruff of her neck. And they stayed like this for 50 minutes. Now, this helps, it's a very rare thing, this helps to make sure that no other dog will mate with this female. Now, the experts that we've been with helping us film this incredible behavior have only seen this a couple of times themselves, and we think this is the first time this has been filmed in the wild. This is really, really rare behavior. So we really need to thank Bryden Thomason and Richard Shuck Smith for help with that, because that was some extraordinary footage. Now, we've been watching furry families being made here in Shetland. Further away on the Gower, feathered families are already getting busy.
On the Gower Peninsula in South Wales, spring has finally arrived. A few days of late April warmth has given the local wildlife a welcome boost, and they're joined by an influx of summer visitors. The swallows have finally returned from Africa, as have the white-throats, announcing their arrival with their distinctive song. But these tourists are late to the party. Back at our Raven Gully, things are already well advanced. The parents have been banished from the crowded nest, and the hot weather is less welcome here. Ravens are adapted to life high up in remote trees and on exposed cliff tops. And this south-facing ledge is a sun trap, the black chicks gaping in the hot April sun. But for other residents, the warm weather has prompted a frenzy of nest building. On a small ledge just down from the ravens, rock pipits are on eggs. And nearby are the stonechats, busy ensuring a constant delivery of food for their growing young. And in the gorse, one bird in particular is thankful for the change in weather. The male Dartford warbler, who sang throughout March, has now fallen silent. And hidden deep in the gorse is the reason why. 4 naked chicks just a few days old. Dartford warblers are a success story for the Gower. They only started nesting here in the early 2000s, but now they can be found across the whole peninsula. For all the small avian inhabitants of these slopes, the weather isn't the only enemy. The Gower harbours a whole host of nightmare neighbours. Adders patrol these slopes, and small birds, their chicks and eggs are all on the menu. And there are aerial threats too. Magpies will snatch eggs, and kestrels also patrol these cliffs, mainly hunting rodents and lizards, but also happy to take small birds and fledglings. High above the cliffs, the kestrel's larger cousin, the peregrine, is also on patrol. It's focused on the nesting ravens. But despite repeated dives, this peregrine is not hunting, but trying to avoid its own young becoming the hunted. Ravens are opportunistic scavengers, so the peregrine has turned protective parent. Its own chicks could be under threat. Having shaken off the peregrine, one of the raven parents passes below, its beak full of food. But it isn't heading to the nest. It lands to divide the catch into smaller portions. Some of this precious food is going into storage, hidden under the soil and marked by a grassy covering so that it can be relocated should times get tough. To be caching food at this stage means the parents are doing well. And back at the nest, the chicks are noticeably bigger. Though noisy, the trio haven't yet developed the deep, throaty calls of their parents. And with 80 different recorded calls to learn, they still have some way to go. Another strange call signals the arrival of the raven's newest and nearest neighbours, a pair of fulmars, who are at the cliffs to nest too. This pair have returned to the ledge they use year after year, and the high-rise is starting to get crowded. But despite the onlooking audience, the fulmars waste no time in getting down to business. With the tone of the neighbourhood taking a distinct turn for the worst, the ravens are beginning to get restless. Preening their new feathers, they're starting to stretch and flap as they exercise their muscles. Ravens fledge at around 6 weeks of age, a dangerous time for any youngster. Having survived this far, will their first flight be successful?
Great to see those 3 healthy ravens, and we'll give you the last episode of our Gower Diary tomorrow.
It's always important to put your hand up and say you got something wrong. And on Spring Watch yesterday, we showed you this. And we said that we thought that these were a couple of barn owl eggs that had just been laid. But when the picture came up, I thought, hold on a minute, there's 2 of them. They're very, very shiny. They're surrounded by nest material. Barn owls normally start incubating with the 1st or 2nd egg, so where's the owl? I didn't think they were owls at all. In fact, they weren't. This is what we saw today. They were, as I suspected, the eggs of a stock dove, and this is a species that very frequently comes into nest boxes, barn owl boxes, tawny owl boxes, kestrels boxes, lays its eggs. So as it turns out, Michaela, there are no barn owls here with eggs. They are indeed very, very late, as we said.
Good apology, I like that. That's all we've got time for. Tomorrow, Gillian will wrap up her visit to Shetland, where she sees skuas.
And Michaela and I are going to be comparing tits.
You know how it went on in my very own nest right up in the treetops.
Don't go anywhere now, though, because you can join us on Facebook Live, and that will also be on our website. We've still got some live badgers, I think, and of course, I'm going to be telling you more about tree slugs. Please don't go away.